It was a quiet morning on Bella Vista Street, the kind of morning that makes the world feel safe. Sunlight spilled through the cafe windows, painting golden stripes across the marble counter. The smell of roasted coffee beans filled the air, wrapping everyone in a sense of comfort and calm. Behind the counter stood Elena Rossi, a 23-year-old waitress with kind eyes and tired hands. She'd been working here for 6 months, long enough to know everyone's usual order, but not long enough to forget how hard life could be. She smiled through exhaustion, refilling cups, wiping tables, humming under her breath. To most people, she was just another girl in an apron. But if you looked closer, you'd see the quiet sadness in her eyes, the kind that only comes from someone who's been through too much, too young. Door chime rings softly. The morning rush had barely begun when the cafe door opened, and the entire room fell silent. 3 men walked in. The one in front, tall, broad shoulders, black tailored suit, carried himself with a calm that felt dangerous. His name was Dominic Farrow. To the city, he was a businessman. To everyone who mattered, he was the man you never crossed. No one ever expected to see him here, not in a small cafe like this. And yet, there he was. He took his usual corner seat, the one facing the door, always watching, always calculating. 2 bodyguards stood nearby, scanning every movement like shadows that never blinked. Elena froze for a moment. She had seen him before, just once, 2 months ago, when the cafe had to close early because someone had been cleaning up outside. That day, she'd gone home early. Today, there was no such luck. She smoothed her apron, took a deep breath, and approached his table. Elena softly. "Good morning, sir." "Your usual?" Dominic's dark eyes lifted, unreadable. He gave a small nod. Dominic low, smooth voice. "Double espresso. No sugar." She noted the order, hands trembling slightly as she turned back to the counter. It wasn't fear of him that made her hand shake. It was the energy around him, that cold, heavy silence that seemed to follow wherever he went. You could almost feel the air tighten when he spoke. Elena placed the small porcelain cup on the saucer, poured the espresso carefully, and walked it over. Her mind was already elsewhere, rent due, her brother's hospital bills, the sound of her mother crying on the phone. She was tired. So tired that she almost missed it. Almost. When she placed the cup down, the sunlight from the window hit the rim, and something glinted. Something metallic. She frowned. There was a thin, silver needle barely visible, tucked just beneath the lip of the cup, so small that anyone drinking from it would never notice until it was too late. Her pulse spiked. In that single second, Elena's world shrank. Every sound faded. The chatter, the coffee machine, the music. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heartbeat. She glanced up. Dominic hadn't noticed. He was reaching for the cup. Her eyes darted around the cafe. At the corner table, a man sat alone, newspaper in hand. But he wasn't reading. He was watching. And when their eyes met, he smiled, a small, chilling smile that told her everything she needed to know. Someone wanted Dominic dead. And it was about to happen right here, right now. Her breath caught in her throat. If she said something, she might die for interfering. If she stayed silent, someone else would. She turned back toward the counter, her hands trembling as she grabbed a new cup, identical to the first. She filled it quickly, pretending to be calm, pretending nothing was wrong. But her thoughts screamed. Elena, inner voice. Think. Elena. Think. You can't just stand here. If you warn him, and he thinks you're involved, you're dead too. But if you do nothing. She glanced again. Dominic's hand was already lifting the poison cup. Something in her broke. She didn't think. She just moved. Her feet carried her forward before fear could stop her. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears. Every step felt like a lifetime. She reached the table just as Dominic raised the cup to his lips. Her voice trembled, barely more than a whisper, but somehow it cut through the silence of the cafe. Elena urgent, shaky. "Drink this now, trust me." Dominic froze mid-motion. He slowly lowered the cup, eyes narrowing on her. Dominic cold, suspicious. "Excuse me?" Her hands shook as she slid the clean cup toward him. "Please just trust me." The 2 bodyguards moved instantly, their hands dropping to their jackets. One stepped forward. The other positioned himself behind her. "Bodyguard, what's going on here?" Dominic low. "Let her speak." Elena's voice cracked as she tried to explain. "Elena, see, there's something wrong with that cup. I saw something. I just..." But before she could finish, Dominic's sharp eyes caught it too. The faint metallic glint on the rim. The unnatural reflection. He didn't react. Not a single muscle moved. but his eyes darkened. He reached for her cup instead. Slowly, calmly. Then, without breaking eye contact, he took a sip. The cafe went silent again. Everyone watched. Even the man with the newspaper had stopped pretending to read. Dominic set the cup down gently, his expression unreadable. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, "Dominic, who told you?" Elena confused. "What?" "No one. I just saw." He studied her. Every twitch, every blink. Then his gaze shifted, just slightly, toward the man with the newspaper. That's when Elena noticed something. The man was gone. The newspaper lay crumpled on the table, still warm. The chair rocked gently, as if he'd just left seconds ago. The door was still open. And somewhere outside, the man who had tried to kill the mafia boss was walking away, calm, unnoticed, and deadly. Dominic's voice broke the silence. "Dominic, quietly. You've got good eyes, waitress." Elena didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. Her knees felt weak. Her palms were drenched in sweat. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Dominic, but tell me something." Pause. "How do I know you're not the one who put it there?" Her heart stopped. Before she could speak, one of his guards pulled something small from his jacket, a small metallic device, and placed it on the table beside the poison cup. A hidden needle mechanism, built to release poison when the cup tilted. Dominic's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Recognition. Calculation. He wasn't just thinking about who did it. He was thinking about why. Elena opened her mouth to say something. Anything. But he raised a hand to silence her. "Dominic cold. Sit down." She hesitated. "Dominic." "I said sit." Her hands trembled as she obeyed, taking the seat opposite him. She could feel every pair of eyes in the cafe on her. Dominic leaned forward, voice calm but sharp as a blade. "Dominic, now tell me, little waitress, what exactly did you see?" And as she tried to speak, her eyes drifted once more to the doorway, because standing there, watching silently from across the street, was the same man with the newspaper. He raised a hand, almost a casual wave, before disappearing into a black car that pulled away from the curb. The car's license plate glinted in the morning sun, and for some reason, Dominic's face went pale when he saw it. Dominic low, furious whisper, "That's my brother's car." The sound of the door chime fades. In one heartbeat, the waitress had saved a killer, and stepped straight into the crossfire of a family war. For a long moment, no one in the cafe moved. The poison cup sat between them like a live grenade, silent, waiting, deadly. Dominic's eyes stayed locked on Elena. His expression gave away nothing, but behind that calm exterior, something had shifted. He wasn't looking at her as just a waitress anymore. He was looking at her like a puzzle he needed to solve. Elena quiet, shaking. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I saw the needle, and..." Dominic interrupting. "You saw everything, didn't you?" She froze. The tone in his voice wasn't anger. It was suspicion laced with curiosity. One of his guards leaned close, whispering something into Dominic's ear. Dominic's jaw tightened slightly, then relaxed. He nodded once. The guard disappeared out the door, scanning the street for the man who'd fled. The other remained, tall, scar across his cheek, eyes like stone. His hand never strayed far from his weapon. Dominic leaned back, his dark suit crisp against the morning light. For a second, he looked almost human, a man worn down by years of betrayal. Then he spoke softly, his words razor sharp. "Dominic, you said you saw something. What exactly did you see?" Elena hesitant. "The light hit the rim and I saw metal, a needle. Just barely. And then that man with the newspaper. He was staring at you, not reading. When I looked at him, he smiled, like he wanted me to notice." Dominic's fingers drummed once on the table, slow, calculated, then stopped. He turned his gaze toward the poison cup again. The liquid inside rippled faintly, reflecting the cafe's warm lights, an image far too calm for what it contained. Dominic softly, "That wasn't meant for me." Elena confused. "What?" "Dominic, that needle, it's not my kind of warning." Pauses. "It's someone else's message." The words sent a chill down her spine. He wasn't surprised someone tried to kill him. He was surprised how. Outside, the guard returned, breathing hard. He whispered something quickly into Dominic's ear. Dominic's eyes narrowed. Bodyguard low, urgent. The man, he's gone. Got in a car. No plates. Took off down Canal Street. Dominic exhaled slowly, then waved him off. Dominic, lock the door. The cafe's bell jingled once as the doors shut and the lock clicked. The other customers, a couple reading the paper, a delivery boy, stared in confusion. Dominic stood, his presence towering over everyone. Dominic to the room. Cafes closed. Everyone out. No one argued. Even the old man in the corner shuffled out quickly, head down. Moments later, it was just Dominic, Elena, and the guard, silence hanging heavy in the air. Elena's pulse thundered in her ears. She wanted to run, to scream, to get as far away from this man as possible. But something in his expression made her stay. Not fear, not power, something else, something wounded. Dominic leaned against the counter, his tone quieter now. Dominic, you work here every day? Elena nodding. Yes, sir. Dominic, and you've never seen that man before? Elena, no, never. Dominic, he studies her. Funny thing about cafes. You see everyone, but no one ever sees you. He looked out the window, eyes scanning the street as if the glass could answer his questions. Then, softly, Dominic, do you believe in coincidences, Elena? Elena, sometimes. Dominic cold. I don't. Narrator. He turned back toward the table, toward the poison cup, and pulled a small black handkerchief from his suit pocket. With precise care, he wiped the rim clean, revealing the faintest scratch marks around the metal needle. He studied it like a detective reading a confession. Then he looked up, voice low, dangerous. Dominic, this was placed by someone who knew my habits. My seat, my drink, my schedule. He looked straight at her. Dominic, so tell me again, how long have you worked here? Elena's voice shook. Elena, 6 months. Dominic, and when did I start coming? Elena, 2 months ago. Dominic, He smirked slightly, so you've had time to learn what I like. She swallowed hard. Was he accusing her now? Her chest tightened. Fear and frustration tangled inside her. Elena pleading. I didn't do anything wrong. I saved your life. Dominic calmly. Or you just wanted to look like you did. Her jaw dropped. He leaned closer, not angry, just curious. Dominic, people have faked loyalty for far less than their lives, Elena. Forgive me for not trusting easily. Elena whispering. Then why didn't you let me die for it? That stopped him. For the first time since he entered, Dominic didn't have an answer. Something flickered in his eyes, brief, human. He almost smiled, but it never reached his lips. He turned away, pulling out his phone. A coded message, quick and quiet. Then, almost to himself, Dominic Lowe. Someone inside my house wants me gone. Elena. Your house? He looked up, expression darkening. Dominic. My family. The air around them shifted. It wasn't just about a poisoned cup anymore. It was about something deeper. A war brewing behind elegant suits and marble tables. Dominic pocketed his phone, standing abruptly. Dominic, where's your manager? Elena. He's not in today. Dominic. Convenient. He began pacing slowly, lost in thought. The guard's phone buzzed suddenly. He glanced at the screen, frowned, then handed it to Dominic. Dominic's expression hardened. He looked up at Elena. Dominic quietly. That man with the newspaper? My men just found his car. He paused. Dominic cold. It exploded. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Elena. Exploded? He nodded. Dominic. No survivors. The cafe felt smaller suddenly, the walls closing in, the shadows growing longer. Every answer only birthed more questions. Elena's stomach twisted. She had stepped into something she didn't understand, something far too big for her. Then Dominic said it. The words that froze her to her very core. Dominic, quietly. That car belonged to my brother. Elena. Your brother? Dominic's jaw tightened. He turned toward the window again, voice heavy with anger and realization. Dominic. He knew where I'd be. He knew what I drank. And now the man who delivered his message is gone. He looked back at her, eyes colder than before. Dominic softly. He's behind this. Elena's breath hitched as Dominic spoke those final words. Because at that very moment, the cafe door creaked open behind her. Footsteps echoed. She turned slowly. And there he was. A man in a sleek gray suit, charming smile, striking resemblance to Dominic. But his eyes carried a darkness even deeper. Dominic's brother. Marco Vero. Marco smiled, setting his briefcase on the table beside them. Marco smooth, friendly. Brother, I heard you were in the neighborhood. Thought I'd stop by for a coffee. He glanced at Elena. Marco smiling. Mind if I sit? I've heard good things about this place. Dominic didn't answer. He just stared. The silence between them could have split glass. Elena stood frozen between two brothers, one she just saved, and one who might have ordered his death. Marco leaned back casually, motioning to the counter. Marco, be a darling, miss? Elena hesitant. Elena. Marco. Elena. Get me what he's having. Elena's hands trembled as she turned to make the espresso. Because now she knew. The next poisoned cup might already have her name on it. The cafe that once smelled of comfort now smelled of fear. The air felt thicker, like every breath could give away a secret. Marco Vero sat across from his brother, his smile bright and effortless, the kind of smile that hides knives behind it. Dominic watched him silently, his expression unreadable. And between them stood Elena, the waitress caught in the crossfire of a family war she never meant to enter. Marco charming, teasing. I didn't know you liked this place, brother. A cafe? Really? Not exactly your scene. Dominic flatly. I like quiet places. Marco. Ah, yes. You always did like to sit where you could see the door. He glances at the window, eyes sharp. Marco smiling. Still paranoid? Dominic doesn't answer. He just lifts the cup Elena gave him, the clean one, and sips slowly, eyes never leaving Marco's. Elena stood behind the counter, pretending to wipe cups, but her heart pounded like a drum. Every instinct told her to leave, to get out before this turned ugly. But something stronger kept her rooted. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was because, deep down, she already knew. This wasn't over. Marco glanced toward her, his eyes glinting. Marco, you must be new here. Elena softly. 6 months. Marco, 6 months. You like working for my brother? Dominic's eyes flickered toward him. Dominic, she doesn't work for me. Marco smirking. Doesn't she? She saved your life today, didn't she? Sounds loyal enough. He leans back in his chair, studying her. Marco, tell me, Elena, what made you look twice at that cup? Elena hesitated. Elena. To light. It reflected off something sharp. I just knew something was wrong. Marco chuckled softly. Marco. Sharp eyes. I like that. Dominic's tone sharpened immediately. Dominic. Don't. Marco raised an eyebrow. Marco. Relax, brother. I'm just making conversation. But there was something in his tone. Something mocking, dangerous. Dominic's fingers curled slightly against the table, a silent warning. And for the first time, Elena understood. This wasn't just family tension. This was blood waiting to spill. A phone buzzed in Marco's pocket. He pulled it out casually, read a message, and smiled. Marco, seems like everyone's talking about your little incident this morning. Rumor is someone tried to poison you. He looked up, eyes glinting. Marco mocked sympathy. Tragic. Who would do such a thing? Dominic's gaze hardened. Dominic coldly. Someone very confident I wouldn't see it coming. Marco smiled wider, like a cat toying with a bird. Marco. Well, you always did trust the wrong people, brother. You should be more careful. Elena could feel the temperature in the room drop. 2 men, 2 brothers, 1 silent war. And she was standing in the middle of it. Dominic reached into his jacket pocket, slowly, deliberately, and placed something on the table. A small metal device. The poisoned needle from earlier. Marco's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Dominic's voice came low, steady, lethal. Dominic, recognize this? Marco stared at it, then laughed softly. Marco, you think I had time to plant a toy in your coffee, Dom? Come on. You give me too much credit. Dominic calmly. I give you just enough. The tension between them was suffocating. Elena could hardly breathe. Then Marco leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. Marco, you always did have trust issues. Maybe that's why Father liked me better. Dominic quietly. Father's dead. Marco smiling coldly. Exactly. Elena realized then, this wasn't just rivalry. It was history. Decades of resentment, betrayal, and silent hatred boiled beneath the surface. She turned to the counter, trying to calm her shaking hands. And that's when she saw it, a small, cracked capsule lying beside Marco's napkin. Her stomach dropped. She'd seen that before. It was the kind used to hold liquid poison, the kind that dissolves instantly. She watched as Marco discreetly reached for it, pressing his thumb against the edge of Dominic's cup. Elena's pulse raced. Her throat tightened. She knew she should stay quiet, but she couldn't. Without thinking, she stepped forward. Elena urgent whisper. Don't. Both men looked up. Her voice caught. She forced a shaky smile. Elena covering. I mean, do you want another round? The coffee's gone cold. Dominic's gaze sharpened. He caught it. He saw where her eyes had flicked to the capsule, to Marco's hand. A silent understanding passed between them. He gave the faintest nod. Elena moved back to the counter, her mind spinning. She brewed 2 new espressos, one for each brother. But as she turned to serve them, she switched the cups. Marco's drink for Dominic. Dominic's drink for Marco. She set them down, hands trembling slightly. Dominic noticed. Marco didn't. He lifted his cup with that same smug smile. Then Dominic's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced down, a message from his bodyguard. The text read, "Target eliminated. Car exploded. No survivors." Dominic's blood ran cold. Marco's smile widened, slow and deliberate. Marco quietly, "Looks like you can't stop what's already started." He set the untouched cup back down and stood. The room seemed to tilt around Elena. Her stomach churned. She didn't know what scared her more, the explosion, or the way Marco spoke as if he'd already won. Marco straightened his tie, eyes flicking between them. "Marco. Well, brother, always a pleasure. Try not to choke on your coffee next time." He turned to Elena. Marco softly, "You did well, Elena." "Truly." But he leans in, his breath cold near her ear. "You saved the wrong manual." Elena stood frozen. His words were playing in her head. She didn't even notice Dominic's stand until he spoke. Dominic quiet, heavy. He's declaring war. He turned toward the window, watching the gray car disappear into traffic. Dominic low. "And now you're in it." Elena stared at the 2 untouched cups, her heart racing. Both looked identical, but one still carried death inside. The steam rose between them, silent, ghostly, and cruel. She had just stepped deeper into a world where even kindness could get you killed, and where every cup of coffee might be your last. The cafe was silent, too silent. Elena stood behind the counter, staring at the empty chair where Marco had sat. The smell of espresso still lingered, but underneath it, something metallic. Something that smelled like danger. Dominic hadn't moved since Marco left. He just stood there, staring out the window, his reflection a shadow carved in grief and fury. Elena hesitant. "Mr. Vero. Are you okay?" He didn't answer. Not at first. Then, slowly, his voice broke through the silence, low, steady, and terrifyingly calm. "Dominic, they killed my driver, my oldest friend. The explosion Marco mentioned." He exhales, eyes narrowing. "He just declared war on blood." Elena felt the chill crawl up her spine. She didn't know this world, the rules, the punishments, the monsters that wore expensive suits. But she knew one thing, Marco wasn't bluffing. "Elena, why would he, your own brother, want to hurt you?" Dominic finally turned to face her. His eyes were dark, haunted. "Dominic, because I took something he wanted. Power, respect, father's empire." He paused. Dominic lower, quieter, and something else, someone he shouldn't have loved. There it was, a hint of heartbreak behind all that anger. A story buried under years of silence. Elena took a small step closer. "Elena, you mean a woman?" Dominic's jaw clenched. He didn't answer, but his silence said enough. The light flickered above them. The rain grew heavier. It wasn't just the storm outside. It was the one building inside the cafe, between 2 souls who were never meant to meet. Elena turned sharply. A man in a black coat stood in the doorway, soaked, tense, eyes darting. Dominic's hand moved toward his jacket. Dominic low, commanding. "Who sent you?" The man raised his hands. Man breathless. "Boss, it's me, Carlo, from the North Sector." Dominic lowered his weapon slightly. "Dominic, speak." Carlo urgent. "Your brother's men are moving fast. They hit 2 of our warehouses. We lost 10 already. He's not stopping." Dominic's eyes darkened. Dominic coldly. "He wants chaos. Fine. I'll give him more." Elena's heart sank. She could see the shift. The man in front of her wasn't just the quiet customer from the cafe anymore. He was the Mafia Boss now, calm, merciless, unbreakable. But what terrified her most was how he looked at her next. Dominic steady. "You shouldn't be here, Elena. You've seen too much." Elena defiant. "I saved your life." Dominic quietly. "And that's why I can't let you get caught in this." He steps closer, his voice low, conflicted. "Dominic, my brother won't stop until everything I care about is gone." He hesitated, just for a second, before whispering, "That includes you." For the first time, Elena saw it. Not the boss, not the danger, The man behind it all, the one who carried the weight of death and loyalty on the same shoulders. She wanted to run. She wanted to stay. Before she could decide, Carlo's voice cut through the moment. Carlo, boss. The message came from inside. Someone tipped Marco off about your schedule today. Dominic froze. Dominic tense. From inside my crew? Carlo. Yes. Someone you trust. The words hit like a knife. Dominic's face hardened. Elena could almost see the calculation spinning behind his eyes. Every lie, every secret meeting, every name. Then his gaze shifted, slowly, toward her. Elena's breath caught. Elena softly. You think it's me? Dominic low. I don't want to. But I can't ignore the possibility. The air between them turned cold. Elena felt her throat tighten. The man whose life she saved now looked at her like she might be the enemy. Elena shaking. I didn't betray you. Dominic gritting his teeth. Then tell me how Marco knew where I'd be. The exact cafe. The exact time. Elena tearful, desperate. I don't know. Maybe someone followed you, maybe. Dominic interrupting. Maybe you told him. Tears welled in her eyes. She couldn't believe it after everything. He thought she was part of it. Her hands trembled. Elena breaking voice. You think I'd risk my life to save yours, just to poison you after? Dominic didn't answer. He just stared, torn between logic and instinct. Then Carlo stepped forward. Carlo urgent. Boss, if she's lying, we don't have time to find out. We need to move now. Dominic's jaw tightened. He turned back to Elena. Dominic low, command. You're coming with me. Elena startled. What? Dominic, if you're innocent, you'll prove it. If not, I'll find out soon enough. Door burst open, gunfire in the distance. Carlo shouting. They found us. Dominic grabs Elena's hand, pulling her toward the back exit. Bullets shattered glass. Coffee cups exploded off shelves. The cafe that once felt safe was now a battlefield. Elena stumbled, heart racing. Dominic covered her, firing back as they dove behind the counter. Elena screaming. Why are they after us? Dominic grimly. Because Marco doesn't leave witnesses. They crawled toward the back door as more gunfire erupted. Carlo was hit, collapsing against a table, blood staining his sleeve. Carlo hoarse. Go. I'll hold them off. Dominic hesitated. Carlo shouting. Geo boss. Dominic dragged Elena out into the rain-soaked alley. The sirens screamed. The night burned with gunfire and vengeance. Elena looked back one last time, through the shattered glass, at the man bleeding inside the cafe. Everything she'd known, her job, her peace, her life, was gone. Dominic turned to her, soaked in rain, blood streaking his cheek. Dominic quietly. If Marco wanted a war, he chambers his weapon. He's got one. And as thunder cracked across the sky, Elena realized. The poison wasn't just in the coffee anymore. It was in their hearts. In every lie. In every secret. And there was no antidote left. The night was alive with rain and gunfire. Every drop that hit the pavement sounded like a countdown to the end. Dominic and Elena tore through the empty alleyways, soaked and breathless. Behind them, the cafe, once filled with warmth, was now in flames. Elena panting. Where are we going? Dominic gritting his teeth. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he won't expect. They ducked into an abandoned underground garage, the kind that smelled of oil and secrets. Dominic slammed the heavy door shut and checked his gun. Elena leaned against the wall, trembling, water dripping from her hair. Elena shaken. Carlo, he's dead, isn't he? Dominic's jaw clenched. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. For a man like him, silence said everything. He finally looked up at her. Dominic, I need to know the truth, Elena. Elena confused. The truth about what? Dominic quiet, intense. Who told Marco where I'd be? Who betrayed me? Elena's voice broke. Elena, I told you I don't know. I swear on my life. Dominic stepped closer, eyes dark and searching. Dominic, he called you by name, Elena. He knew you. Her breath caught. Elena. What? And then it hit her. Those words Marco whispered before leaving the cafe. You saved the wrong manual. She replayed them over and over, realizing he hadn't sounded angry. He'd sounded almost regretful. Elena's voice trembled. Elena softly. Dominic, I think he knew my mother. Dominic froze. Dominic carefully. Your mother? Elena. She worked for a family in Naples years ago. She used to say they were dangerous, that one day they'd come for her. She disappeared when I was 10. Dominic low, stunned. Your mother's name? Elena whispering. Sofia Varela. Dominic went still. That name. It wasn't just familiar, it was forbidden. He took a step back, realization striking like lightning. Dominic Horse. Sophia was Marco's fiancée. Elena's eyes widened in horror. Elena. No, that can't be. Dominic. She vanished before the wedding. Father said she ran away. He looks at her, disbelief mixing with something deeper, sorrow, guilt. Dominic quietly. She didn't run. She was running from him. The truth unraveled between them like shattered glass. Elena wasn't just a bystander. She was the daughter of the woman who broke Marco's heart, the ghost he never forgave. Elena, voice trembling. He knew all along. Dominic. And now he's punishing me for it. A loud crash interrupted them, metal against concrete. Dominic raised his gun. The door burst open. Marco mocking, cold. Touching, really. The hero and the daughter of the thief. He stepped into the light, rain dripping off his black coat, eyes blazing with vengeance. Marco, you always did take what's mine, brother. My power, my family, even my love. Dominic steadied his aim. Dominic coldly. She wasn't yours, Marco. Neither is this city. Marco smirking. Funny, you say that like it still belongs to you. Marco moved first, drawing his gun. The echo of gunfire tore through the garage. Sparks flew. Concrete shattered. Dominic fired back, pulling Elena behind a car. Elena screaming. Stop, please. Marco shouting. She took everything from me. And you kept her child by your side like a trophy. Dominic's eyes flashed with fury. Dominic, she saved my life, Marco. Something you'll never understand. Marco's face twisted in rage. Marco, she saved the wrong manual. He fired again. The bullet grazed Dominic's shoulder, blood splattering against the wet floor. Elena screamed and grabbed a fallen metal rod, striking Marco's arm. The gun slid across the floor. Marco lunged at her, shoving her back. Dominic tackled him, the two brothers crashing into the wall. Fists, blood, rage, years of hatred exploding in one brutal fight. Marco snarled through clenched teeth. Marco. Father chose wrong. Dominic slammed him against the wall, voice low and trembling. Dominic. No, Marco. You did. Gunshot. Silence. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then Marco stumbled back, clutching his chest. His gun fell, clattering across the floor. He looked at Dominic one last time, pain, regret, and hatred all in one broken stare. Marco weakly. She had your eyes. He collapses. Rain drowns out his final breath. Elena froze. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the rain. Dominic stood over his brother's body, silent, shaking. The war was over. But the victory felt like death. Elena whispering, Dominic, you did what you had to. He turned to her, his voice low, raw. Dominic, I killed the only family I had left. Elena stepped closer, gently taking his hand. Elena, no, you protected the only good left in it. Outside, the rain began to fade. Dawn broke over the city, pale, fragile, and new. Dominic looked at the rising sun, then at the woman who had changed everything. Dominic quietly. You should leave this world, Elena. It destroys everything it touches. Elena firmly. Then come with me. He smiled faintly, a broken, beautiful smile. Dominic, I can't, but you deserve peace. He reached into his coat and handed her something small, a key. Dominic softly. For the cafe. It's yours now. Start again. And as she watched him disappear into the mist, she knew. He wasn't a monster. He was a man trying to escape one. Sometimes the most dangerous poison isn't in the cup. It's in the heart that still dares to care.